Hi, Kevin. Thanks for your transformations of the sine curve assignment. I'm just going to go through a few little pointers and corrections for you here on your assignment. Um, when the equation of the curve is y equals sine of x plus 60, the only thing that's going to change is this plus 60 is going to have an effect on the curve. That effect is that it's going to move it all to the left by minus 60. So the best thing to do is always start with the y equals sine theta curve that doesn't have any changes to it, any transformations. And the 180, sorry, I'm just looking at the 180 there. It shouldn't be there. It should be right there. It's this point right here. All we need to do is pick up that curve, and we're going to copy and paste it all 60 degrees to the left. So what's going to happen is if this is minus 90, then minus 60 is going to be about here. So you're just going to take that same curve exactly, and you're going to move it all back 60. So our maximum will occur, instead of at 90, our maximum will occur at 30. And this 0, instead of occurring at 180, it'll occur at 120, and so on. So it's basically the same curve, it's just a little behind the other one. And it's also going to end at 300. It's going to end earlier as well. And so the curve should look like this. One thing that you need to watch is that you're showing, some of your lines are showing as straight lines, and it needs to be a nice, smooth, fluid curve. The other thing that you need to watch is if you're moving it to the left 60, that you should only come to 300 for your domain. So you need to stop at 300, move it all back by 60, okay? Here you need to start at minus 60 degrees, and then you're fine to mark things like 90 and 180 and 270 and 360 on your grid, rather than having to do it in 60s, 120s, and so on. I'm just wondering about the domain. If it asks you to do one cycle, then your domain should be negative 60 up to 300 degrees, not 0 to 360. However, your range is not going to change. Your range is going to be everywhere from minus 1 to 1 for the y values, because minus 1 is the maximum, positive 1 is the maximum, minus 1 is the minimum. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. The only change that we see here is this plus 2, and that plus 2 is going to be transformation, vertical shift of 2 units. So it's going to take everything in the previous curve, and our regular sine curve looks like this, remember? It's going to take all of that, sorry, that should start at 0. It's going to take all of that, and it's just going to shift it up 2. So if we already go to 1 and minus 1, then our new maximum is going to be way up here at 3, and our new minimum is going to be at 1. And so it's the same curve. It's like we've shifted the x-axis up by a factor of 2. Exactly the same curve, but now we're up here, and we're going to draw the curve in like that, okay? So your range, your values for your range are everything from 1 to 3, and you actually should write that in square bracket, because 1 and 3 can be values. And your domain is correct from 0 to 360 on that one. For part C, if you're going to move it, plus 30 degrees, that means the whole graph is moving to the left by 30 degrees. So your starting point at 0 becomes 0, negative 30 and 0. Okay, so everything moves back. It shouldn't end at 360. It should end at 330 now, because we're moving back by 30. And this one is very similar to part A, so you can look at that one for an example. One of the things that I'd suggest that you do here, Kevin, with all of the functions, this is a really confusing topic for people. People do struggle with it. If you have a graphing calculator or a graphing calculator app, then if you put these equations into that and have a look at what they look like afterwards and compare it to your hand-drawn graph, then you'll see if you're right or not, okay? if you're using Android, if you're an Android user, then there's one called Wabbit Emu on Google Play, and that makes your smartphone into a graphing calculator. If you're not, I'm not much of an Apple user, but if you're not, then one thing that you could do is use a program, a software program, such as Meta Calculator. I can't spell today. No, I can't spell. Calculator. Okay, and I have put tiles for these on the homepage for our course. There's a little symbol at the bottom of the page with useful math links, useful website links, and you can just click there on the Meta Calculator. It's the third one over, and just fill in your formula, and it will show you what the graph should look like. Okay. Same thing here, you're moving the whole graph down by 1.5, so now your maximum value should be -5 and your minimum value should be -2.5. So for your range, I'd like to see -0.5 and -2.5. Okay. For E, it's a multiple transformation. We're moving it left 45 and down 2, so your graph needs to reflect that. And so you need to start 45 degrees over, and you don't want to go to 360, you want to stop at 315, okay? For F, again, multiple transformations. The whole graph is moving up by 3. So what I would expect to see is if it started at 0, it's going to finish at 3. You're also moving it to the right by 60, so at 60 it should start at 3, which means you don't want this part of the graph. You want to start right here at 60, and then you want to go to 420 and not beyond, okay? So other than that, your graph looks correct to me. You've moved it all up by 3. And your range now, it's just all moved up 3, and so your range is actually, if it was -1 plus 3, it's going to be 2, and if it was +1 plus 3, the new maximum is going to be 4, and that's all you have to do to find the range, okay? Your domain is going to be 60 to 420. Okay, so with just quickly looking here, I won't go through them all because you can check them on your graphing calculator, but just point out to you that H, it's really not a good idea for you to have straight lines in your sine curve. These need to be nice smooth curves. It has to look like this, okay? So what I would suggest, just so the video doesn't get too long, because YouTube won't accept it if it's too long, is just use the graphing calculator app and feed in the rest of these and have a look at what the graph should look like. And I think from the ones I've explained to you, you should be able to now figure out where they go and what they should look like, okay?